Hello everybody, this is Raxef, and today I want to give my impressions on For Honor. Before I get into it, I do want to let you know that this video will not contain any spoilers, so if you don't want to find out about anything plot-wise regarding the single-player campaign, feel free to continue listening. I will not give anything away regarding the story or the characters. Now, first of all, I wanted to talk about the single-player campaign. Overall, I did find it enjoyable. It took me about 6.5, 7 hours to complete. For others wanting to be completionist, it will take them a bit longer to fully explore the maps and find the collectibles. I did play through it on camera in normal mode, and I went back off screen to complete some of the more difficult missions on realistic to see if there was any major differences. On realistic mode, the game does get quite a bit harder, particularly for some of the bosses, but it's nothing that is too frustrating or anything that you won't be able to overcome without a little bit of patience. What I really did like about the single-player campaign, for me, is that it gives you a context about why these factions are fighting. The whole introduction to the story and the journey of the characters, it really shines some light on what is going on in the background through multiplayer. I know for some other gamers that won't really be a huge thing that's necessary for them to enjoy the game, but for a gamer like me who really does enjoy learning the context of a game's universe, it was very, very insightful. The story itself wasn't anything to write home about. Overall, it's pretty basic, but it does provide some insight as to why it is we have samurai fighting Vikings fighting knights. So I really, really enjoyed that part of For Honor. Another thing I did like about the single-player campaign is that it does serve as a sort of glorified tutorial, and some people might look at that as being a bad thing, but I view it as being a positive, particularly since the single-player mode is not the meat and potatoes of For Honor. The bulk of the gameplay is going to be in your multiplayer rounds, but what single-player helps to accomplish is it gives you some time with almost every hero, and with that time you're able to play the heroes, learn their move sets a bit, and then decide, hey, I've spent about 30-40 minutes playing almost every hero. I think I know which one I liked playing the most during the single player campaign, and that's what I'm going to be playing more frequently in the multiplayer area. Notice I did say that you played almost every hero. I thought it was very strange that initially they had you play all 4 heroes in the Knight faction, but you do not play all 4 heroes in the Viking or the Samurai faction. So maybe that's something that can hopefully change with some sort of DLC or game update in the future. I think that that's a point that Ubisoft missed with the single player, but it's not that hard to jump into a couple of practice duels with a hero that is not covered in the single player mode and learn their movesets, get to know how that particular hero handles. Something that I also noticed during the single-player campaign, and it might have just been how I was playing the game, or it could be with how the game actually functions, but I did notice that the AI for the NPCs, whether they're your allies who are helping you fight, or if they're enemies that you are fighting, the AI is a little bit buggy at times. Every once in a while, I would be on a mission with an ally, and they just would not help me fight any of the more difficult heroes that I was facing. They would just sort of sit in the background, giving their own commentary rather than helping me dispatch with 2 or 3 other enemies that I was fighting against. Similar-wise, with some of the enemies, they just sort of stood there and either let me wail on them, or they just always seemed to be guarding and never wanting to make a move on their own. So that would be another thing that I would keep in mind as you are playing through, that some of the AI doesn't handle particularly as well as other games. But overall, returning to my original point, the gameplay was enjoyable. I did enjoy that sort of preview of most of the classes. Now, I'm going to be jumping into the multiplayer area a bit. I have put about 35 hours in total to this game. That's including single player and multiplayer. And absolutely, this game is most enjoyable when you are doing multiplayer. And what I do like is the abundance of modes. There's duel, which is one-on-one. There's a brawl, which is 2v2. You also have 4v4 deathmatch. You have a couple of other modes like Dominion, where you capture particular points and you increase your score. And once your score is high enough, then you get to dispatch of the enemy team. There's another version like that where it's more direct and there's not really any points you capture. You're just sort of killing heroes back and forth and killing some minions to raise points. But overall, I think there will be a mode for everyone to enjoy, whether that is duel or dominion or skirmish or deathmatch. One thing I do want to bring up that is, of course, very prevalent in multiplayer games is the issue of balance. You know, one class may appear to be stronger than another, or it could really be the opposite, and the people playing those classes just don't know how to play them to the best of their ability. One thing that I will say, regardless of what you think of the balance of current heroes, it was very apparent from early on that one of the heroes, known as the Valkyrie, was quite a bit weaker than pretty much every other hero, and Ubisoft was very quick to address this in a public announcement with many of the changes that they're making to the Valkyrie, as well as a couple of other minor changes they were bringing to other heroes. This is something I really, really like to see in multiplayer games. One other game that comes to mind right off the bat is Overwatch, with how transparent the development team is about the types of changes that they are hearing being suggested by the community, as well as the changes that they want to implement and why they're implementing them in these certain ways. I'm hoping that Ubisoft will continue this trend of being quick to respond to the community feedback and show that they are listening, and then taking that feedback and turning that into an actionable response, whether that be buffing a hero or changing some part of the mechanic. Many people are still complaining about certain issues of balance within this game, particularly with Lawbringers or another class that I have heard is that Wardens also need a little bit of a boost. But regardless of which hero you think needs buffing or which hero you think needs nerfing, it is nice to know that Ubisoft is listening to the community and that they want to make these changes. That will be very, very important for keeping this multiplayer community alive and thriving over the course of the long run. Another thing that I noticed that was actually missing from multiplayer, which is often not missing from other multiplayer games, is that there is no skill rating. Now, of course, when you are in matchmaking, it tries to match you fairly against other opponents that are around your same skill level, but there's no real indicator of how that skill level is judged, or if you are assigned a number or rating of some kind. You're able to see what your win-loss ratio is as a percentage, but beyond that, there's no really great way to see, hey, this is how I am doing skill-wise compared to other members of the community. And that may be intentional from Ubisoft, or it may just be something that they still need to develop. But I personally believe that having a rating system of some kind, not even to compare yourself to other people, but just so that you can see yourself, how you are doing, because there are levels in the individual heroes known as reputation levels, but that really just has to do with how much time you've put into a character, not necessarily how good you are with that hero. So, of course, it stands to reason that someone who puts enough time to reach reputation 8, which takes quite a while, will be better at a hero than someone else who's only at reputation 1 with a hero, but not necessarily. This is a very, very skill-based game, despite what people say about the balance between the different heroes. And I think putting some sort of some sort of number or rating to your skill, just so that you can know and understand, hey, this is how I am placing. Gee, I'm not doing as well as I thought I should be doing. I need to work on my skills. Or hey, I'm doing actually pretty well. I'm comfortable with where I am. There's a bit of room for improvement, but my skill rating feels right, and I'm being paired against people who are around the same level as me. Finally, something else I wanted to touch about in regards to multiplayer is the faction war. Now, the faction war is sort of this meta game that is happening in multiplayer throughout For Honor. Whenever you complete any sort of multiplayer match, you are awarded what are called assets, and these assets are basically signifying soldiers that you get to distribute throughout this map, which has many, many different regions, and they're going back and forth in control versus the Knights, the Samurai, and the Vikings. And as of now, the faction war seems very, very low impact, and there's no really great way to know how exactly to distribute your assets. Now, me personally, I subscribe to the For Honor Knights subreddit, and that's where a lot of the planning and strategy goes in terms of, hey, we're seeing a bit of trouble in this particular region. We should start focusing our efforts in these two zones so that we make sure we don't lose any more ground here and we can actually start gaining ground. But once again, this is a very, very niche community in comparison to the entire player base of of For Honor. Now, something else in regards to the faction war is that it seems to be very, very low impact in terms of any sort of rewards or compensation that you get. Of course, as time goes on and the rounds of the faction war and the seasons of the faction war pass, we're going to be getting more information and some more light will be shed about what exactly we're going to be getting and if participating in this faction war is even worth it. But overall, I've really, really, really enjoyed my time in the multiplayer realm of For Honor. I've hooked up with some people from the For Honor subreddit community and the For Honor Knights subreddit community, been on Discord. It's been really easy to get into some actual team-based matches with people that I'm communicating with over Discord. If you are able to become a part of that community and find people on your community's Discord, I would absolutely recommend that because it's just so much easier, particularly on the team-based modes to communicate and overall have just a more enjoyable time, and you end up winning more often because of that communication. So finishing up, I would overall say that For Honor is a very, very, very great game. Ubisoft certainly has their work cut out for them because this is a multiplayer-focused game, and that requires a lot of active participation from not only the gamers, but also the developers in order to make sure that this community is thriving and that the gameplay doesn't get stale. But overall, I've been so far very, very happy with my purchase. I would absolutely recommend someone pick up For Honor if they were even considering it. At full price, I think it's absolutely great if you're into that sort of mix of a fighting game and like a Dark Souls or Bloodborne game. It's a brawler, but with a very, very high skill cap that takes a lot of learning between the individual heroes. I think it's an absolutely wonderful game. And if you can, if you feel like you still want to wait a bit and wait for this game to go on sale, then hey, more power to you. I think if you can find this game on sale, then absolutely don't hesitate to pick it up. If you're in it just for the single player mode, you might want to hold off a bit and really wait till it's on sale because, like I said, the single player campaign really only took me about 7 hours or so, and it wasn't really that immersive or fulfilling in terms of a dedicated single player storyline that you might find in a game such as Uncharted, for instance. So if you're one of those people that really only like single-player games, then I'd say hold off for a bit until this game gets on sale and pick it up for a reduced price. But if you're really, really into multiplayer, I would say absolutely check out this game if you can and pick it up and get in there. And personally, I would say for you to join the faction of the Knights because it is the best faction, down with the Samurai and the Vikings. But if you decide to go with one of those other two factions, I will not hold it against you. Those are my impressions of For Honor. Thank you very much for listening to this video. If you liked it, then please be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you have anything you want to say, then please leave a comment in the section down below. I do want to start doing more of these commentary videos where I'm talking about my experiences with certain games that I'm playing, whether or not the gameplay itself actually shows up on my channel, but it also gives me some more avenues to really interact with the community. Also, if you would like, please feel free to subscribe to my channel so you can keep up to date with any videos that I will be publishing in the future. With that being said, thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video.
난 너의 점점점 생애서부터 너를 내 타겟 찾아 헤맨 거야 너만의 그 웃음을 보기 위해 나는 여태까지 달려온 거야 내가 내 점점점